Survivor is back, delivering an explosive merge episode that is firing on all cylinders from start to finish. We even get a callback to the previously on Survivor segment to catch us up with everything that has gone down so far in season 41. But if we're being honest, this was 100% used as a way to let the viewers understand who has what advantage going into episode 7. And so I think we need to break that all down. Going into tonight's episode, Xander has an idol, Naseer has an idol, Brad had an idol but got voted out, and then Shan found that idol. Xander had an extra vote, Deshawn had an extra vote, JD had an extra vote but gave it to Shan, who gave it back to JD, who gave it back to Shan, who gave it to Ricard, who gave it back to Shan. Finally, Liana has the steal and idol advantage. Don't worry, we're going to be diving into this amazing episode of Survivor and discussing if last week's cliffhanger was worth it or not. So make sure to stay watching until the very end so you don't miss it. If you're brand new to the channel, be sure to subscribe to get everything Survivor, as I'll be doing Survivor breakdown videos all season long, as well as delivering other Survivor content. Careful for spoilers for everything during the episode. If you haven't seen it yet, I'll number all these things as we go along to stay organized, starting with the first rainstorm of the season. Number 20. Kicking things off, we get some insight of the first bit of a thunderstorm and surviving the elements all season long. If you like to follow our Survivor players on social media like me, then you would know there's been plenty of rough nights all season long, and we finally get to see a bad storm here in episode 7. Obviously, they're showing that storm to highlight how true of a struggle it really is living alone on Exile Island. Number 19. We stay on Exile Island to see how Erika is holding up the very next morning, as she describes her visit alone as an unbelievable, life-changing experience. We love a good underdog story, the producers love a good underdog story, and it's amazing to see Erika conquer this moment. Sometimes the producers nail the flashbacks perfectly, and don't worry, we'll be discussing one of those amazing flashbacks at the end of this video, but it was obvious she was going to be breaking the hourglass, so I don't think we needed to hide that moment right here.
And now I have this decision. It allows me to hit a hard reset.
Number 18. Here we go, the big cliffhanger from last week. What is Erika gonna do? Of course, she decided to break the hourglass and flip the game on its head. Again, I want to reiterate, I think this is an awful twist in Survivor, as why waste energy to win a challenge if it's just not gonna matter in the end? But with that said, this was an amazing moment for Erika, and she made the right move for herself. Deshawn said it perfectly about how the entire community felt about this twist.
It's not the game I'm used to. In the beginning, this is season 41, and nothing's gonna be the same.
Number 17. With Erika reversing the curse and changing Survivor history, we now have Ricard, Evie, Danny, Deshawn, Naseer, and Sydney fighting for their lives. Personally, I was cheering for Ricard and Evie to win the challenge, as I think it's time for Aluvu to be sent home. And for a fairly straightforward challenge, I was on the edge of my seat screaming the entire time. I didn't know who was gonna win. Evie, no! Ricard, no, reset. Evie, no! Sydney, Ricard, Sydney, Ricard, Ricard wins! Number 16. I've seen the arguments online about how the Hourglass Twist is still fair for the original tribe that won last week, as they were all given the merge feast. I'm calling BS on that, I'll never agree. I think that twist was not right. I don't think I'll ever be able to let it go that this tribe worked so hard and won the physical challenge only for it to be taken away from them. As soon as the players get back to camp, Danny lets out his anger and feels the exact same way.
I bust my ass on that challenge. To learn that don't matter anymore is really tough for me to process.
Number 15. We then return to regular scheduled Survivor programming, as in the classic Survivor merge fashion, all the players are scrambling around attempting to gather the numbers and the troops they need to secure the votes the way they want to. The main takeaway I took out from all of the chaos is that Liana is ready to make a big move, or maybe Shan is whispering into Liana's ear about thinking it's time to make a big move. Number 14. We instantly see a large group form of people throwing Evie's name under the bus. The group consisting of Ricard, Deshawn, Danny, Shan, and Sid. However, with 12 players remaining in the game, it's pretty clear and pretty obvious you're gonna need more than 5 votes to send someone home. Number 13. In the moment, we didn't know exactly what was going on, but with having all the information, we now know that Tiffany, Xander, and Evie began planning their big heist after Xander tells them he's going to save Evie with his idol. In a very heartfelt moment, this brings Evie to tears, because if the roles were reversed, the idol would not be played for Xander. All 3 Yase players come to the conclusion that they should go for a power player like Deshawn. After 6 full weeks of discussing Naseer being a threat, my mind is blown that his name wasn't even on the chopping block. Number 12. The Yase heist comes in full effect when a classic game of Survivor Telephone is being played, as all the players spill the beans on everyone's secrets. Danny tells Liana that everyone is voting for Evie. Shan convinces Liana to betray Yase. Tiffany tells Evie about Liana's advantage. Evie tells Xander about Liana's advantage. Xander tells Danny about Liana's advantage and that he's gonna play his idol for Evie. Danny tells Liana that Xander is gonna play his idol for Evie and they know about the advantage. Shan and Liana check the rules of the advantage. Liana tells Deshawn that the votes are on him. Number 11. The final part of the heist is set into motion as Xander, Tiffany, and Evie all set a trap on Liana regarding the hidden immunity idol. Amazing acting on everyone's part as Xander says not to worry, he's gonna play his idol. And then privately, Liana asks if Xander gave his idol to Evie, and the response is perfect as Evie explains he wants to keep the idol for himself to play up a big moment at Tribal Council.
He wants the moment, you know. I trust him mostly.
Number 10. If you're watching this video, then you already know Sydney's the one who's eventually going to be sent home later in the episode. And we get some amazing foreshadow into this as we head into Tribal Council with her describing she's probably the target because she thinks she's the best. For how Sydney's Survivor adventure ultimately turns out, I think we can all understand why she's been so bitter on social media.
Oh, everyone's gonna obviously want a gun for me because I'm me. But then I'm like, all right, screw these people. I'll do what I have to do to keep the votes off my back.
Number 9. I'll admit this moment's really small, but I love the shout out we are given to Sandra and Parvati leading into Tribal Council, as Liana has given her confessional about turning into the Survivor player she feels like she can become. I said it a little earlier, but I think she got a bad case of big movitis with a combo of Shan getting into Liana's head a little too much.
Tonight, I'm transforming into that confident kind of badass player that's willing to make that move, like a Sandra, like a Parv, like these women I've, really looked up to.
Number 8. I kid you not, when I noticed we were headed to Tribal Council, I paused the episode quick to see how much time we had left because I felt like we were going way too soon. And turns out I was right, and with a 25-minute Tribal Council, I knew we were going to be in for something special. Congratulations for all Luvu players for making it this far into the game without ever going to Tribal.
Crazy that so many of you have yet to even come here. Wow.
Number 7. The final stage and most important part of the Yase heist comes into effect at Tribal Council as Evie and Xander need to put on their acting shoes in front of everyone. Evie points out to Xander saying, "I'm lucky I have my jungle bro." And then we see Xander pull out his idol. I have seen comments about people saying this was super obvious and bad acting, but I really need to disagree. It may have been obvious for us, the viewers watching at home, but you need to remember we have all the information. The other players had zero idea about Xander having the fake idol. Number 6. We then see a little battle come out between Evie and Deshawn as he calls Evie out on all the BS regarding being really close to Xander. Flashback to when these two went on their adventure together, and Evie gave Deshawn the full rundown on everything that was happening at the Yase camp. Well, he blows the game up and exposes us in front of everyone, and at this moment I was fully convinced Xander wasn't going to be playing the idol for Evie. Number 5. Here we go, the moment you've all been waiting for, the highlight of the episode and the part that makes all of last week's episode worth it. The Yase heist gets pulled off successfully and the steal and idol advantage goes to waste. This is best case scenario for so many different reasons, as I was not a fan of the steal and idol advantage in the first place. We were given some amazing TV shock value moments with Xander having a fake idol, and on an eventual rewatch of the season, last week's episode will come off so much better.
Right before we left for Tribal, I gave my extra vote and my idol to Tiffany.
Oh, I'll keep the fake one. Oh, give me a clue, actually.
Number 4. We then get some good old live Tribal Council action as everyone panics on what to do after Liana misfires her advantage. We see a majority form as Ricard, Shan, Liana, Danny, Deshawn, Erika, and Heather call Naseer over. Meanwhile, we also see the minority consisting of Evie, Xander, Tiffany, and Sydney panic on what to do. Once again, Deshawn has quickly become a fan favorite of mine with his social maneuvering of the situation.
We're done.
We're done as in you want to vote.
No, sir. Not at all.
So Deshawn, you're not ready to vote.
Number 3. Such a small moment, but the Repulse puzzle this week was very interesting. Let's slow it down so everyone can get a closer look, and the answer was idol in pocket. Number 2. The first ever shot in the dark is in the game, an extra vote was used, and there was no idol played, giving us some very interesting things to talk about when this episode was just finishing up. I've crunched all the numbers and all the possibilities, and my conclusion is that Deshawn made the right call using his extra vote. The vote ended up being 5 5 for Sydney, 4 for Evie, and 3 for Deshawn. But if Deshawn didn't use his extra vote, it would have been 5-3-3. And if we go a little bit further and say Sydney didn't use her shot in the dark and voted for Deshawn instead, then the vote would have been 5-3-4. Let's get a little bit deeper here with the hypotheticals and say Xander played his idol for Sydney. That would have meant 3 votes for Evie and 4 votes for Deshawn, sending Deshawn home. So ultimately, playing that extra vote guaranteed his safety in the game. Number 1, Sydney goes home, and this comment on my latest Survivor poll describes how I feel about it perfectly. She got screwed from Survivor, but as a result, an amazing episode was produced. But looking back on everything now, it makes so much sense as to why Sydney has been so bitter on social media. If you want to see more bitter and spooky Survivor moments, click right here to see my video on Jeff Probst's angriest Survivor moments.